June 2nd, 1835. P.T. Barnum and his circus toured the U.S. for the first time, sparking the imagination of every child who ever dreamed of kidnapping an elephant. Welcome to The Revisionists. I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
And our guest is longtime friend of the show, super funny. Please welcome back Daniel Reskin, everyone.
Hello, Revisionists. Hello, Zach. Hello, Brian.
Hello, everybody. And may I say, hot time, summer in the city. Back of my neck.
How is it?
Dirt and gritty. It is very hot where I am, so if I am semi-lucid during the recording here today, just know that I am suffering the early stages of heat stroke. I don't know if that has stages.
Heat stroke of genius, perhaps?
No, I'm pretty sure it has at least one stage, I think, in between.
The stroke stage?
Yes. And also that's Zach with the weather report to kick off.
That's right. How's
podcast.
Everyone's back of their neck? Hot and gritty, sweaty? Use that grit on some toast later.
I think the lyrics are... I'm not sure about the lyrics of the song. I've always heard it as dirt and gritty. Not even dirty, just dirt and gritty. Back of my neck, dirt and gritty.
And that's... I thought it was hot because it was about the weather, but, you know...
Well, it's a hot town, summer in the city.
Sure.
You don't want to get too repetitive with the hot.
Well, then you know what? We're going to get the fact checkers on this. And
Dairy Queen knows one hot, one cool. You don't want hot eats and hot treats. You want hot eats and cool
What would
treats.
even be a hot treat? I guess a pie, maybe. Like a hot pie.
Yeah, there's a lot of hot treats. A hot fudge sundae has it right in the name.
Well, okay, but it's not like entirely hot. It's really about the duality of hot and cold.
Yeah, that one plays with the nature of temperature and makes you rethink what you expect out of a foodstuff vis-a-vis temperature.
I forgot about your dissertation.
Yeah, I wrote hot eats and cool treats, a new truth or a lie from the baby boomers.
Nice.
I was wondering how you'd pull out that subtitle. Well, listeners, if you're new to the show, each episode one person presents a hot eat and another person presents a cool treat from history.
There you go.
And this, the hot is a metaphor for truth, and the cool is a metaphor for lies.
Yes, exactly. And the winning story becomes the truth going forward.
That was a very bare bones explanation of what we do.
Look, I think it'll bear itself out. By the way, it's called The Revisionists. I can't remember if we said that or not. If you listen to the previous episode, Jeanette Rankin with Christy Buckley, you'll be satisfied to know that the true history won out in the end, despite my... I'm not going to say best efforts.
Hey, your
C- efforts.
Yeah, it's not my best.
You were using the Marvel wind, and I dug it. Asgardian. We would need more Asgardian representation in our houses of legislation. True. I think
the Revisionists is sadly low on Asgardians.
I will say, last time I presented an alternate history having just seen Infinity Wars, and today I am judging having seen a 9 a.m. showing of A Quiet Place. So my day has been all fucked up.
Oh, you'll love mine in that I didn't have time to write an alternate history, so it's going to be 9 minutes of silence.
Well, this time, Daniel, you're doing the actual history.
Yeah. I just last time I did the alternate history, so I figured I'd switch it up. Because my turning story of cannibalism into a tale of homoerotic love and sacrifice just wasn't good enough for the viewer poll. Not that I'm bitter, but
I mean,
it still remains fan fiction, is what I'm saying. I'm a little sad about it.
It's in the multiverse. It's working its way around. I don't know what that means.
It gives me some Rick and Morty reassurance there. Sure.
It's actually, I've heard it's one of the top 10 fanfics on aficofourown.com.
Yes.
In the NC-17 category.
Yes. Too hot for legal.
Wait, is that a real
websites.
website?
Possibly. I think it could be. There's a website that has a name like that. That is.
And definitely one with that function. But yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there's dozens with that
Oh
function.
no, we started our own DeviantArt page. Just based on art from people's fantasies in the
Well,
podcast.
these people
really?
create
Yeah.
their
That's good.
deviance. They create their deviancy with words instead of pictures.
Oh, god damn it. Also, this episode we're discussing James Reese Europe. So, if we're all ready,
We are.
all right.
Okay, let's take a tour of Europe.
Take it away. Oh, that's what he said whenever he did a testicular self-exam.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of...
Which,
probably-
by the way, listeners, we do not advise testicular self-exams. Get a doctor to check out your
No, a
testicles.
doctor will tell you to do self-exams.
Yeah, they're like...
I am at that age now.
Okay, fair enough.
And that
Viewers
doctor
do
is Dr.
testicular
Me.
self-exams.
Take a moment right now, viewers.
You know what?
Women do a breast exam, males get those
Doesn't ma-
testes, look for any
you-
lumps.
This is like Headspace. It's a guided testicular self-exam.
Yeah. Are you at work? Are you on the subway? There's never a wrong time for
wrong.
a testicular self-exam.
That's why we have pockets.
At a fancy dinner, meeting your in-laws' family,
That's what James Reese Europe would want.
examining someone else's testicles. Throw 2 for 1.
Not, Brian, #me too. It is not the time.
Well, like in a medical capacity. I meant to
Get
say.
consent
Okay.
and then, yes, squeeze all the squeezables of your friends and family and make sure they're okay. Make sure there's no hard crab-like lumps in there.
crab-like lumps.
The cancer.
Listen,
Like
I think we
jumbo-
could all agree, if you're gonna touch somebody else's personal areas, it's best to do it out of love, not lust.
Yeah,
Or a
not
healthy-
lumps.
healthy
That's our
combo.
slogan for the revisionist testicular self-exam month. All June, because it's summer in the city.
Anyways, let's talk about
Back
this.
of, back of my lumps are dirt and gritty.
Let's talk about this pioneer of African American music and
Put the
culture.
Patreon ad in between this and
He-
there, so
he
there'll be a little
is.
breathing room. Hey there, this is Brian reminding you that The Revisionist is supported by listeners just like you. You can make a pledge and get rewards like shirts and even the right to vote over at patreon.com/therevisionists.
Yes, so this is a gentleman who has been described as the Martin Luther King of music. He, in the way he's a pioneer of getting Negro music to be popular in a time when it was still called Negro music. So that
We should
this,
also note immediately, he was called the Martin Luther King of music, like, I guess when they came up with that name, it was pretty revolutionary because Martin Luther King was not so much born yet.
yes, this was 1880. It was Mobile, Alabama, but Mobile.
Yeah, I think it's Mobile.
It's Mobile, yeah.
But I was just picturing like a nice baby learning about the states.
Yeah, no, think about, the way to remember it is somebody in Mobile, Alabama, or somebody from Alabama in general, when they first heard about mobile phones, when they tried to read mobile, they would say Mobile.
I bet they all do. Hit me up on my mobile. So, he was taught piano at a very early age from his sweet mama. And he was big into music. She hired an army musician to teach him violin. And he eventually followed his brother out to New York, where he just started winning people over right away with his talent, his magnetic personality. He just had a way of making friends, and everyone was happy to receive him there. So he realized how little opportunity black musicians had in the scene. They had no offices to be contacted in.
Which was weird because in other areas of culture, black people had so much opportunity.
Yeah, they were just...
For some reason in music.
They were killing it in legislation, Congress, right? And
Yep.
tennis,
Trying to survive in
the
America.
arts being like one of the first cracks in the wall.
Elevator operators, they were, yeah. They had so much opportunity.
Only so many buildings, yeah. So Yeah, arts and entertainment being one of the first equalizers, even though those people would like perform on the same stages and then not be allowed to stay in the hotels and all that kind of stuff. But even this was like way earlier, World War I hadn't even happened yet. And so he opens up his own space called the Clef Club. And that's a place that serves as offices for the musicians. It's a concert hall and a performance space and a safe space, which was definitely not something he called it, but was definitely a function of having a safe place to be.
Yeah.
So he started making his dreams of kind of educating and spreading all this music and like genuine musicianship, real orchestra. His big accomplishment was creating a symphony orchestra, and had over 100. I think it was 125 people from what I saw. And he quoted to a friend later in his life that he lost 10 years of his life teaching the boys. But he got that orchestra to Carnegie Hall in 1912, and they were invited back several times. But you can imagine like how crazy it is coming from like any, knowing a skill like how to play an instrument at a high level.
How to play a musician.
How to play a musician. That's actually what he did have to learn, because to wrangle like 125 people and like basically be their Juilliard and like put them through music school.
And
like I can imagine he could have been like a Duke Ellington. He could have been like killing it.
Minor spoiler, trying to wrangle musicians might prove his undoing later in this story.
Yes, the magnetic personality attracts everything sometimes, and things you wouldn't want to attract.
Including things made out of metal.
Yeah, he's just walking around like looking like a woolly willy, actually, a lot of the time.
That's right, an anvil fell on his head. And we'll get to that later. So, yeah, huge influence.
You shouldn't have made enemies with Wile E. Coyote, is the moral of the story.
That's right. Not the warrior. Oh, yeah, okay, so his, World War I happened, guys and gals and folks and friends. The World War I, and he said, hey, I'm going to enlist. I want to go do my part. He saw the value in coming together on a righteous team with other people, regardless of class and race and all kinds of stuff. And he saw his service as like being part in this conversation, being part in this American movement. So he was right in it, and he enlisted as a private, but they made him a lieutenant, and they saw his musical skills. So he was he joined Harlem's famous Hellfighters division, and he got all the white musicians had kind of got deferments or got away, or the rich ones. So he made this band entirely out of black and Puerto Rican and Latin people, and they were the damn best band there was. They went to Europe, and they absolutely became a sensation over there, where they actually know and care about classical music and jazz and ragtime. What he was doing was infusing so-called Negro music into the ragtime, into the jazz, into the big band.
And his performances at Carnegie Hall and his tour of Europe, like, this was for a lot of people, particularly, I think particularly like white people, the first exposure they had to jazz as an art form.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They said that his, he was hired to be the composer and the director for a lot of reviews and musicals and stage performances that were all black casts, and he was one of the first people to kind of debut that style of music. Yeah, at Carnegie Hall. And to do a lot of predominantly white works with mixed and
this was also like a U.S. Army band, which I don't know if that is even a thing that still exists anymore.
I'm not
sure.
Yeah,
I mean, they all still have music. They all,
really?
my dad was in the band so that he didn't die in Vietnam. So he joined the band and went to Korea and played trumpet.
Oh, wow, okay.
And now I'm alive. Yeah, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
I also want to note really quickly, because this was something when I was looking up some facts on this on James Reese Europe. There's one of the most prominent pictures of him when you do a Google image search is him standing in front of his army band, And I don't see any other pictures where this is corroborated. But in that picture, he clearly has one of those weird World War I masks that, like, if you ever saw Boardwalk Empire, Richard Harrow has, like, that fake face. Like, from the perspective of the person looking at the picture, the right side of his face, that looks pretty clearly to not be his real face. And I don't see any reference to him being injured or anything like that, but it's just a very bizarre...
I'm trying to find the
reference picture. Brian's looking it up.
It's him with a couple guys. One guy's kind of looking at him sort of admiringly.
With that thing covering his eye and his face, kind of?
Yeah, he definitely looks... That is unsettling.
Not sure what that is. He kind of has a Nick Fury look, actually.
Yeah.
You want to bring it back to Marvel, but... Yeah, we'll have to look on the because there.
That's the one, yeah.
Apparently, his he did not have half of his face burned off by acid spit.
Or maybe he did also play a stint playing the organ below a Paris opera house.
That's right. That's where I know him from.
Regardless, I think we should get back on track.
All right. Yes,
I think
we're almost there.
Ragtime-itis might have been a thing.
More like lag time. Am I right?
Wait, what?
Lag because we're lagging. Lag time.
Yeah, got it.
It's for the pun board.
And of course, Jag Time, which is on
Oh,
CBS
fuck.
Thursday.
The pun... We have been neglecting the pun board, Brian. We were supposed to be free of this podcast by now.
I listened to my episode. Yeah, it was 50,000 you were supposed to reach to earn your freedom.
We're now in even more pun debt, actually.
Yeah, you probably accrued way more.
Yeah, there's pun
fines.
interest. Pinterest, as they call it.
Ah!
Yeah, we'll count that.
Yeah, it works. Oh, definitely. That's one letter off. That's great.
You know, we're a bit rusty, actually, so we'll definitely we'll count that.
So he went to war, and he came back. He had a successful tour. He did his service, and
That's the start of a freestyle rap.
He came back. It's Hamilton too, and
He went to war. He had a successful tour. It's Hamilton, but
came back,
a white
played.
rapper.
played some more.
Hamilton with white performers telling the story of Black Americans.
Finally.
Hey, did the alt-right need a Hamilton of its own?
Except they should be doing it
it's
in like
Jefferson.
They should be doing polka. It's like white people telling rap stories, but through polka and like country line dancing or something. Something equally horrible. All right, so he made it through war and the horrors of war, and for all that, one night at a gig, he was playing as they did, swinging, making the crowd hop and move parts of their bodies they didn't know had independent movement. Then,
Spleens.
during the intermission, they're hanging out backstage, and there's a drummer, one of two drummers, named Herbert Wright. And the drummers, drummers, first of all, drummers. There's two of them, and if they have a
Who
relationship.
doesn't have a drummer in their life?
Yeah.
And Herbert thinks that he's always getting slighted, that the other drummer is a bad drummer, a worse drummer, but Herbert's always getting the shit from people. And that we've all, know the little brother type.
Yeah, I think he said something like Herbert was out of time or had some problems in the first half of the show, and James tried to call him on it, and he was like, "You're always giving me shit, James."
Yeah, exactly. And in which case you can tell either from the expert opinion of James Reese Europe that if they're giving Herbert shit, it's because he's either not drumming as good or if by chance he is drumming as good, he's just a piece of shit personality. And, there's someone who's just kind of inspires people to rag on him a little bit, especially in Ragtime Band. That was half of it.
Yeah, no, you gotta rag on people in ragtime.
It was the original roast. It was the original Comedy Central roast. The ragtime.
Yeah, they'd have like Don Rickle jabs in between each verse.
Lisa Lampanelli.
But nice shirt, lose a bet. Yeah, and so...
Although Lisa Lampanelli, during her time, was considered very racially progressive.
It is...
Her time being the 1920s.
She had a shred where she was a moral kind of a compass. I insult everyone equally.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
We're all thinking it. No, we're not all thinking it.
There was just like an incident of her... she has a podcast called Get Stuffed. which I'm sure is a fine podcast, whatever. But her doing the reading of the copy for that on an advertisement for other podcasts was just so disturbing to hear her lean into a microphone and say, "Get stuffed." It sounded so threatening. Anyway, that's why Lisa Lampanelli.
I think that's what she
That's
wants.
why she's the queen of mean.
Yeah, the fact that she could quiver your soul like that, I think that gets her jollies.
I don't know why I'm.
And
I haven't
also,
thought about Lisa
speaking of
Lampanelli in
things,
20 years.
speaking of things Lisa Lampanelli would enjoy, James Reese Europe, and his all non-white ragtime symphony orchestra.
So it's intermission. Let's set the stage again. Intermission. It's a smoky backstage room. I assume everybody's smoking.
It's sweaty, all back of your neck style.
Herbert Wright says, "Hey, fucker, you're always giving me shit."
And they're like, "Well, if you drum better, we wouldn't give you shit. We brought you all the way out to the gig. We just want you to go in time, buddy. That's all. Just do a better job in the second half." Something like that, I'm sure. And then a very, very logical response. Herbert took what is called a penknife and then proceeded to just jam it into the neck of James Reese Europe. Plunge it deep in. And then the scuffle broke off. They separated them, and James is like, "Ouch, but I'm cool. Don't worry about me. You guys play the rest of the show. I'm not serious. Feeling pretty good. I'm not going to press charges. Just go drum. Just have a good time drumming. Oh, by the way, is my jugular vein. I'm dead. I'm dead now."
Yeah, I think he left the venue.
He bled out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Left the venue acting cool, and then
So cool.
Fell over, taken to a hospital, and died.
That's it.
Yeah, that is
So he's
very cool.
He's totally a Bruce Lee figure of music in that had he been able to live out the rest of his life, he would have been a legend. He would have been a name like, Count Basie, Duke Ellington, maybe even fused like Ray Charles. I mean, he would have been right. But yeah. So that's showbiz, I guess.
Yep.
Sometimes you make them laugh, sometimes you make them cry, sometimes your drummer stabs you in the jugular.
Yeah, exactly.
He severed his freaking jugular, man.
Jesus.
And he just held a napkin on it and was like, "I'm cool, Daddy-o. I'll see y'all after the show." And then he moonwalked out of there.
I like to think that Herbert's drumming after that was basically like the last 5 minutes of Whiplash, just like the best. Anyway, Daniel, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm a little sad.
No, it's a sad ending, but Zach.
But his influence is felt, and it's still his fingerprint.
Right.
Is
I
on
mentioned
pop music, all music today. A lot of
I mentioned ragtimeitis because very ineloquently somebody said that his tour in Europe spread ragtimeitis through France.
Yeah. They were huge in France.
Was this around the time of the influenza epidemic, or no? This was a few years after, because
Scarlet fever might have been the same.
Yeah, it just ravaged the population.
No, they actually said that. It's funny you brought that up because
It was
the Parisians and everyone in France tried to copy their style of music and just could not. And he said that going to Paris and winning them over inspired him to continue to make black music because he knew that was his best path. He couldn't imitate the white stuff, and he had to do what was true to him. And
Right.
And it's worth noting that it was called ragtimeitis because of the amount of time once you had ragtimeitis, you spent coughing blood into a rag.
Yeah, otherwise known as ragtime.
Yeah.
There's a lot of blood into rags at that time. All kinds of people just had multiple body rags for their
you really
orify.
had nowhere else to put your blood other than into
Yeah,
your body.
every person had a monogrammed blood rag that they would carry on their person for when they needed some blood, some ragtime.
Couple leeches of ragtime, yeah, a little letting. We gotta let go.
And you don't want to mix up your blood rag with your regular sweat handkerchief.
No, back of the neck. And if your back of the neck's bloody, then you
Just dirt and gritty.
it's tough.
And don't even think about getting it mixed up with your semen cloth.
Yes. My mankerchief. Thank you.
Anyway, Zach, whenever you're ready.
Yes, we've managed to take a solemn
So
sad story and
scandalized
completely
you
just
were.
drive it into the boner gutter.
As though we were above that on this show.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway.
Dust off the pun board.
Hello, everybody. I'm JD Lopez, the host of Left Hand Right Brain. It's a free-flowing, wide-ranging conversation that I have with artists doing interesting and creative things here in Denver and beyond. We talk about their personal stories, break down their creative process, and what motivates them. Spoiler alert, it's mostly spite. We talk about all these things and more while kicking back, cracking wise, and always having a good time. You can find old episodes and everything you need to know at lefthandrightbrainpod.com.
Here, much of what the story of James Reese Europe that we just heard was accurate. Few caveats.
No, he played violin.
He did play violin.
Not caveat.
Wait, what?
I'm just kidding.
What the fuck?
I'm just making it sounds like it sounds like a musical instrument. I'm just
so it's-
like something.
okay.
I'm just kidding. Sorry, go ahead. Edit this out.
His tour during World War I, it was not merely, sort of a USO uplifting the morale kind of thing. But the fact of the matter is, jazz, the unconventional music style, serves not only as a form of music, but also as a code, which you can only decipher by listening to the notes they don't play.
Yes.
During his tour, what was called the Reese Code, he would go to various bases and play, and the trained ear could hear what was important wartime codes to deliver information from base to base inside of their music. And the future, this was a code James Reese Europe himself developed and was transported through time through all of the great jazz musicians of our era. Miles Davis, for instance, relayed to the future generations that Jesus totally fucked and he had kids.
Oh, so it's not just like wartime secrets. It's also like fucking
jazz
Dan Brown
is still
shit.
an active means of code. The Reese Code.
Yes. All the empty space has been used. I
So wait,
can see it now.
Why would Miles Davis need to encode that information?
Because the Pope, Ian McKellen, didn't want that getting out, so he tried to kill Tom Hanks.
Was Ian McKellen the Pope in that movie?
He wasn't the Pope. He was just like
Young Pope.
a secret keeper.
Yeah, Young Pope.
I don't think. Yeah, Ian
Everyone's favorite
McKellen.
rapper, Young Pope.
Ian McKellen
That's
is
Lil
your
Pope.
picture of a young Pope.
See,
In the rebooted Young Pope, it's actually Ian McKellen. It's weird casting. In the movie Young Pope, Old Pope, where they have to
They
go
big.
to the World's Fair.
Freaky Pope Friday. Freaky Friday Mass.
Road Pope. Pope Trip.
John Coltrane, of course, translated the immutable fact of who killed Laura Palmer using his music.
He was. He was a Lynch fan.
Interestingly, he recorded it backwards and then played it forwards again.
Which the Beatles totally ripped off. Again, appropriation.
Thelonious Monk. Mostly what he translated was, look at this racist as shit old white dude who's in the room right now.
They like to call the room.
Actually, that's still a popular message with a lot of jazz music.
It's like when they're doing crowd work, we don't realize it. That's the improvisation.
Richard Dreyfuss communicated with aliens using jazz music.
It was like more smooth jazz, definitely.
And then abandoned his wife and children at the end of the film.
Spoiler alert.
Which is very musician-like, so you got to give him credit for that.
Charlie Parker resolved the age-old debate of The Sopranos versus The Wire versus Deadwood, and the secondary debate of, is it worth talking to anybody who has a strong opinion of Deadwood versus The Sopranos versus The Wire? The answer is no.
Yes, it's never been
And
a trilogy.
I say that as somebody who has a strong opinion
Yeah, me too. I was about to say.
about The Sopranos versus The Wire versus Deadwood.
Which, of
Versus
course, The
Despicable
Wire,
Me.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we just throw
Versus
some stuff in
Despicable
there.
Me.
It is The Wire, though. It is
Yeah.
kind of The Wire.
Deadwood second.
And
Sopranos, a distant third.
No shit.
And the secret message of most jazz music nowadays is leave the bar as fast as possible.
Boom, jazz slam.
That one's the active notes.
But that's not all there was to... It wasn't just the Reese code that he was famous for. John Reese Europe was actually an amalgamation of two names. One, the Reese, came from the fact that he introduced the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup to Europe. Everybody knows. Mm-hmm. But more influentially, John Race Europe, because he participated in the famous post-war European race that occurred to reunite the countries after the fractious thing that was World War I.
Okay.
The race.
So there was an international race between all the participants of World War I intended to heal the wounds in the spirit of competition that World War I had left.
Friendly competition.
Yeah, race is not like a race in terms of racial thing. It was a literal race.
Right.
And John Race Europe was selected to participate and eventually win the race, hence getting the name John Race Europe. Of course, it was a race for Nazi gold.
Wait, what?
This is the World War I Nazi gold.
You might think that, the Nazis didn't exist immediately after World War I, but it was only called that because it was 4 pieces of gold that spelled out the word Nazi, yes, but if you rearranged them, they spelled out the word zany, because these were some zany races.
What do you call them, wacky races?
Zany with an eye, baby.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say they were wacky races, but he did have to face off such competitors as Dick Dastardly, Muttley, Penelope Pitstop, and of course a young Herman Goring, who...
Damn it.
Every trick was on the books. Banana peels, dynamite, tunnels painted on the side of sheer cliffs. Nothing was off limit for these zany racers.
Yeah, copyright.
Zany, right, competitors.
These zany competitors, but after going through the Netherlands, France, Switzerland, Germany, and Italy, James Reese Europe beat them all to accumulate and catch that Nazi gold. Zany gold.
I really wish you had said the Netherlands, Holland, the place where the Dutch live, Amsterdam.
Tulip Town, Windmill
I
Lady.
am so hot, my brain is boiling inside my skull. So you're lucky you're getting this much.
Yeah, this hot racing action. I bet he played music and blasted a horn into Muttley's ear right before the finish line, something good like that.
You may be wondering.
We can only hope.
After he won this race and won the zany gold, what happened to that gold in the later part of his life? Well, John hit it very, very... He hit it very, very well. No one ever found it. I kept on saying John. It's James.
Mm-hmm. John was his brother, actually.
You also said Race Europe, so...
Yeah, so we're in alternate history.
Let's call him Jim.
Anyways, James hid the gold. It was never found. Although he also hid his masterpiece composition, a new jazz national anthem called James' Lost Masterpiece. Mm-hmm. Again, my brain is boiling in my skull in this plus 90 degree weather.
Yep. Would you say he had a lot of pieces out there?
He had one in particular. He had Reese's Pieces that were going around.
There it is.
Most of them have been
That's the
found.
answer our judges wanted.
All of Reese's Pieces except for one.
Reese's Masterpieces.
Reese's Masterpiece has not been found. It was a new national anthem, which people say the Reese's code inside of it discloses the location of his lost zany gold. And it still hasn't been found, though word is Nicolas Cage is looking for this national treasure to try and unravel Reese's mysteries.
At least you're getting a good stretch in the heat.
I don't want to pull back the curtain too much, but now that we are able to record with video, like hearing Zach's voice when he makes that sort of joke was already a treasure, but seeing just the look in your eyes when you're making that sort of verbal stretch is my favorite thing in the world.
I didn't have Reese's Mr. Reese's written down. I came up with that just now and decided to say it.
Just somewhere in the pool of liquid that was your brain.
Yeah.
Big old case of sweaty brain here.
And dear friends, the story of the Reese's Code and the European race and the zany gold and Reese's Mysteries. I don't know. I pronounced it differently. That's the true story of James Reese Europe. I'm done.
But look for more in National Treasure 3.
Yes,
Jazz Party.
The Reese's monkey. I'm surprised that monkey wasn't involved also.
This is fucking do the right thing over here in Chicago. It's the hottest day of the year, and I have no air conditioning in this room.
Put down that trash can, Zach. It's not worth it. It's a lovely pizzeria.
I've had enough of John Turturro's shit, okay?
Look,
we all have.
He's an asshole, but the crust is so good. Come on.
Before we move on to judgment and save Zach's brain, I just want to mention that we ask that you write a review of the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever podcast service you choose, because that's mad helpful, yo. You can also
Don't say that, though.
I mean, on the other hand, I could say it.
A lot of people just closed the window they opened. They're like, yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? If you hate this podcast and you want to throw a trash can through the window of the revisionists, the most effective way is to write us a 5-star review on iTunes.
And believe me, Zach would welcome that sort of ventilation right now.
Yeah.
Also, you can leave us a comment or ask us a question at revisionistpodcast.com. And reach out to us on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that. Also, we're a proud member of the Denver Podcast Network, with such shows as One More Shot, one of the new shows on the network, which is people's stories of having to reinvent themselves. And it's a really great podcast hosted by Elaine Grant, formerly of Colorado Public Radio. So check out One More Shot and all the shows at denverpodcast.net. Daniel, you host a new show, fairly new, Datmocracy, though. Do you want to tell the people about it?
Yes, I think I will. It's a political comedy show doing with Sexpot Comedy and Andy Jewett and a bunch of fun people. But yeah, it's essentially we're kind of taking a bite out of Bill Maher's format for Colorado politics in specific. We have a panel, we have a comedian, we got interviews, surprises, different things. Minus the smarminess,
minus the
accidental overt
Islamophobia
racism, the
and
hack
hatred of
comedy
tolerance.
from 1940s. We
Did
think
you know
Asian drivers are just fine here.
True story, up until like 1 or 2 years ago, Bill Maher was still making Sarah Palin jokes.
I'm surprised he's not still doing
You
that,
know,
actually.
He may well still
so
be.
like intrigued by the lashback of like the younger comedy generations against Bill Maher, because I still kind of consider him an elder in that like I don't like a lot of what he has to say, but I respect a ton of what he's done.
I think my biggest issue with him is less like there's a lot of the like he's not as like with the current cultural attitudes of some things, but in terms of comedy, my biggest problems with him has always been, oh man, are those monologue jokes the laziest fucking jokes you could ever make.
They're like a step above Jay Leno, for sure.
They're way low-hanging fruit on some of those monologue jokes.
I mean, I also feel like once like Jon Stewart and like later on Colbert kind of hit their stride, it's sort of that model sort of started showing its age a little bit. But anyway,
people updated it,
but
perfected
actually,
it, and
I do think
our monologue is tight though.
To the credit of your idea for the show, his format for a show is great. I actually love the idea of a very freewheeling, uncensored conversation at a round table, because very few shows do that. So I think it's a great model.
Totally. And it takes the conversation places it just wouldn't go in like a scripted or a normal kind of regimented. And the fact, we did homelessness, we did gun violence, and we did pot.
You did.
Yeah. And we're going to do like voting or Me Too or something next. But every third Wednesday at Denver Open Media down there in their Studio A. It's a great place, 7 o'clock. It's free, and it's right down the street from The Narrators, which is one of Denver's hallowed storytelling shows, which is right after our show. So come out and check them both out. And sexbotcomedy.com has all that stuff. So Datmocracy, though.
Hell yeah. Zach, Stage of Fools is facing an uncertain future.
Might be in its final stage.
Shortly after this comes out, we'll release our wrap-up for the 4th season of The Royals. And after that, who the fuck knows? If it's canceled, we'll do one more episode looking back at the series. If by some unbelievable chance it continues, look for us in the year 2023 when they finally fucking finish production on season 5.
Also, when you said by some unbelievable chance, part of me thought you were going to say miracle.
Me too.
And I'm just like, I
was going to say, would you classify that as a miracle? Right.
No, I'm too savvy to. I know
Totally
that this
picked
is
up
an
on that.
evil entity that exists in our culture.
All
That
life
we
is
watch-
precious, even the life of the royals.
Yeah, we're like that insane person who watches like this one nefarious aspect of society and is like, most people are like, it's not worth your time to look at it, but we know deep down this could become a problem for the whole of society. So we vigilantly watch that it doesn't infect the rest of the world.
You're
the
vaccination.
harbingers
Cultural vaccination. Thank you.
As for me, I'll be guest hosting Queen City Companion on June 7th at Mutiny, all-fall storytelling show, which is great. And I'll also be on New Money in Boulder, Colorado, June 13th at License Number 1 Tavern. Come check that out. There's a great lineup there. I'll have a fiction piece in the upcoming issue of Cherry Magazine, which physical copies will be available around the city of Denver, and you can get a digital copy online. Search Cherry Magazine, and if you subscribe to their Patreon, you can get digital issues and everything like that. And also, I have a new website, FlynnComedy.com.
Whoa, Pluggy McGee over here.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I didn't realize we were reading our credits.
I know, right?
So I opened one time for Doug Stanhope.
Well, I was a
no.
C-section, January 30th. I should not give my actual...
That was
not my actual
That was a
birth.
big opener for you. That was
Yeah,
a big...
it's not. It was more of a big opener for my mom.
There it is. But you got a new website, huh? Got some new RSS feeds, some buzzes, some whistles, and
Yeah, I'm gonna try to actually maintain a blog, which is, but it's also just for like booking, and there's some fiction and stuff on there too. So FlynnComedy.com. But I think the time has come for judgment. In this case, and both of these stories are really good. I'm having a really hard time deciding, and usually when that's the case, I'll keep talking until a decision comes out of my mouth. So
you got to work it out, see how you feel.
yeah, Daniel, your story was very well researched, and you got, I think, a lot into his emotional state too, and what he was experiencing, which I enjoyed also. And Zach, your alternate history opens up the possibility of like Illuminati bullshit and like bad Pope stuff.
And franchising. Hello.
Got that.
We're talking about a 3-movie series here.
Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah,
opens up.
hashtag bad Pope.
Bad Pope.
That is like an 80s cop
Which I
show
think
wanna
is,
see.
what, Ratzenberg, right? That's hashtag bad Pope.
Benedict the 16th. Yeah, he was a bad pope. We've had a lot of bad popes, though. Alexander II
Most of them are dead, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, all but 2 popes are dead, so...
Yeah.
Hey, this sounds like the next podcast idea in case that show isn't renewed.
To be fair, historically, that is a surplus of popes. We are living in a historic pope surplus that
Double
we
pope.
may never see again.
I mean, there was the time of the anti-popes, too. So, I mean...
There was no pope at that time?
Well,
you know what? The anti-pope storyline was one of my least favorite Marvel
Yeah.
storylines.
Because then
I
there's
thought
like
it
the
was
time
really
travel mucked it all
confusing.
up, right? They were just...
Well, no, the pope and the anti-pope met, and then there was an explosion, and that's what destroyed Atlantis.
Yeah, and Uatu the Watcher was like, this is some crazy shit.
Yeah, and Namor the Submariner was like, fuck this, I gotta get out of here.
That's DC!
No,
Where was
Namor
the-
is Marvel.
Is he?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, he's an awful character.
Where
but
does
he's
Stan Lee
Marvel.
pop up?
That's
I
where
wanna-
you'd think he'd be DC, because he's terrible.
Yeah, he's a cardinal. Stan Lee was a cardinal, and he's like,
Oh, I missed it.
are we
Nice.
still covering up this child abuse?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the boy rape.
Excelsior,
Now that I'm a
not
victim of
Excelsior.
elder abuse, I don't know if I like child abuse.
Our Stan Lee impression is getting a little Jerry Seinfeld, I feel like.
Hey, welcome down to Deadpool.
It's a little squeaky voiced teen from Simpsons. That did not help me make a decision at all. I'm going to cast my vote for
No one take
for
it
the
personal.
alternate history, just for the jazz code, so we can use that in the future, I think. But listeners,
No, I
it's
like
up to
the
you.
alternate history here.
It's up to you now. If you bought your right to vote on Patreon, do that. But for everyone here at the Revisionists, I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers, and if I die in the next 3 minutes, bury me in a block of ice like Captain fucking America or Walt Disney.
What do you want future generations to know your last words?
Oh, God. Hey, I may be feeling heat now, but if global warming is true, it's nothing compared to what you're feeling, buddy.
If global warming is... Why even
Okay,
add the
it is true.
qualifier
It is
now?
true. If we
Why-
don't fight, if we don't stop it, listen,
And then a bunch of gurgling noises because heat stroke set in.
Yeah.
last laugh is on you, future generations, because you feel this heat all the time.
This happened off air, but Zach is definitely not wearing pants. He's wearing, short pants. I don't want to make it seem like
Him and Paddington Bear,
not
both.
wearing pants. Yeah, Paddington
Bottomless.
is...
Yeah, I'm going with the Paddington look of long jacket, no pants.
I mean, why would you even wear a
Sailor
jacket
hat,
at this
yeah.
point? Just Winnie the Pooh it, baby.
And you know what? I think Paddington was first, so it should really be called Paddington.
Right, instead
Well, it
of
just
Donald
doesn't
ducking it,
work,
as I've
or
heard too.
ziggying
Yeah.
it. Yeah. There's a
I don't know who's
long
older.
tradition of shirt, no pants. Anyway,
Yeah, who's the first perverted cartoon to start this trend?
I really like Yogi burying it, where you have a collar with no shirt
Formal, yes.
and a tie, but nothing else.
and well, no, you
There's
have a
swingers
fedora.
parties that have the same wardrobe.
Oh, that's right. You have like a little
God,
short
Yogi
brim
Bear.
fedora hat.
What a creep.
All right, what a strange ending turn.
Showing up to the picnic in a tie, a collar, and a fedora, and nothing else.
And walking away with the picnic basket, too.
Yeah.
Why does he even get invited to these things?
He traditionally doesn't.
And I'm
That's
Daniel
Owen
Reskin.
Wilson and Vince Vaughn in Yogi Bear, Picnic
Listen,
Crashers.
We've gone too long. I'm dying of. I'm
Yeah,
only
let's
babbling
get the fuck out of
because
here. For everyone here at the Revisionist, I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers. Have a time, good.
Have a good time.
Bye-bye. I'm Daniel.